That's not right.
And we're live. See, we're live. And thank you to anybody who's joining us. We had obviously some technical difficulties trying to figure out camera issues on the side, and I think we had to resort from computer to smartphone. So Nina's going to be joining us off her smartphone tonight. But I do have lovely Nina Soden. I'm saying that right, am I? Soden?
Yes, Soden. Soden. Yes.
Wanted to make sure, but she's the author of 4 books, and actually you did a short story in a 5th book, correct?
I did. I did a short story in a compilation with a bunch of other authors.
Well, yep, and that, it's like,
If I'm supposed to talk more about that.
That's what we did.
That's what we did. Sorry.
The books that you've written, I've read I've read 4 of them. 4 of the 5. How's that?
Yes.
And they all kind of rotate around a supernatural, paranormal type element with.
They do.
And the difference between supernatural and paranormal starts to get a little wonky for me. Do you have the same, like, I don't really know the difference, or do you actually have like a cut line as to this is supernatural, this is paranormal?
No, I definitely don't have a cut line. I think that there are some things that definitely fall into like supernatural. I think supernatural is like angels, definitely supernatural. You can't put that. Ghosts, definitely supernatural. I think that things like vampires and shapeshifters can kind of go in both paranormal, supernatural, maybe. Zombies, maybe paranormal. I mean, I think that there's a line, but I don't know that it's very definite. I think it changes depending on who you talk to, maybe.
Yeah, and what's funny for that part is that when I think supernatural, that's when I start thinking of like werewolves and vampires and things like that. And paranormal, I always kind of reserve for ghosts. And maybe I need to like flip the script on that and get it straight. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, I think it really depends on who you're talking to, and I don't think that there is any set rules. But now, okay, so I did write something about that a while back, and I did have an opinion, but I don't remember exactly what it was because I kind of did the research. Here we go. Let's see. Okay.
I think I remember you actually had 3 different categories.
Yes, supernatural, paranormal, and preternatural. Preternatural. That's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
That's okay. So supernatural, I said, were like angels and vampires and werewolves, warlocks and witches and wizards, that kind of thing. Because supernatural it's attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding of the laws of nature. So beyond what we can explain, maybe, I guess. And then paranormal was like zombies and vampires also, I think, fell into that. Necromancers and time travelers, which is what you write about. So that fell into paranormal in my definition of it, because para means, well, it's kind of the same thing, but it's what's beyond normal. So not beyond nature, but what's beyond normal. And zombies could be, yeah. No, you don't think so? There's an organism that is actually considered a zombie organism. So it kind of lives and feeds off of itself. Yeah, I'm going to have to get back to you on what that is, but I remember reading about it.
Well, that was very, all of a sudden we're into this conversation type of thing.
Yeah, or I am. You didn't talk. Thanks for participating.
You're welcome. So taking like two steps back, you are the author of 4 books that are I deem supernatural-ish. We'll just say that you write about vampires and werewolves and shapeshifters and witches.
Witches, yes, that's what I write about. Yes.
Now your first 3 books, which I will probably choke on trying to remember off the top of my head. Um,
The Blood Angel series, which are Awaken, Beginnings, and Revenge.
Thank you for that step in.
You're welcome.
And that one, I mean, why don't you just you can probably give a little bit better of a spiel than I will. I'll probably be like ranting on for half an hour and forget where we started. So, what is
Okay.
that?
That story is about a girl named Allie who at birth was given up by her parents. And then later in life, she realizes that she's not just a normal girl. She's had medical issues all of her life, in and out of hospitals. So you think this is just some, you know, girl that has issues. But then when she gets older, she starts experiencing um, that she can do things like magic. And then she ends up finding out that her birth father was actually a vampire, her birth mother a witch, and she is what's called a Demfure, which is the offspring of a vampire. And she just so happens to be the offspring of a vampire and a witch. And in my story, she is the first surviving Demfure in history. And so it revolves around her, and it revolves around her experiences and learning what she is and who she really is, and goes from there.
And I really liked it. I mean, the whole vampire and witch child thing was really
Mm-hmm.
appealing, and it was really good build into her coming to that power. And all three books I love, and I'm looking forward to it because there's another one that you're planning on possibly.
Yes, I have started the outline for it, and it is a story about Phoebe, which is a smaller character that comes into the story with the end of book one is when we first meet her. And she is a witch. She is actually Allie's cousin. Um, and so it's her story. It's where she ends up going after the third book and how she changes her life and what happens with her supernaturally.
Now, the series that you're starting after that, Sector C, The Chosen, is the name of the first one.
Yes, The Chosen. And then the second one that's going to be coming out later this year is The Hunted.
See, all these good things that we can learn and find out.
So
The
exciting.
exciting. The second series, it kind of plays still on the vampire werewolf supernatural notion, but it's in a completely different setting as to the first series, right?
Yes, it takes place in the future, and it also takes place in a dystopian society that is, I don't even know how to say it. It's a deceptively utopian. They make believe that it's this utopian society, and there's this governing council that kind of controls it all and makes sure everybody's happy and woohoo. But it is also got its downfalls for the people that live there. So yeah, so it's a dystopian society in the future. After a war, there's only a number of sectors where people actually still live and are in this controlled society where they actually have, you know, jobs and everything. Outside of each of these sectors, there are what they call or what I call the wastelands. And that's where all of the people that have been banished from the sectors live or that have defected from the sectors. Those are also vampires. Those are also werewolves and shapeshifters. And then there are also the humans that have left. And so they're basically scrounging out there, just trying to survive without any support, without any.
In my idea when I'm reading it, I'm kind of thinking the same thing as far as dystopian, but I'm also thinking a little bit more like post-apocalyptic type feel. I kind of think of it. I mean, I don't want to like put it into a category, but thinking of something popular, you think of Hunger Games, but without the games, just more like the how the sectors are put in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
And I mean only in that sense that there's different quadrants that people can actually kind of live in safely.
And all we've seen so far is Sector C. So
Gotcha.
I haven't even touched on any of the other sectors at this point. So, and I'm not sure at what point or if those will come into play, other than the fact that I have two characters that have come from one of the other sectors. But other than that, you don't see them, at least not in the first two books. You don't see those sectors.
Gotcha. So, but to put a spotlight on it, you're not what people consider, I guess, a traditionally published author. You're like a lot of us out there who are independently published or indie.
Yes, yes.
And
I am I what?
are you planning on staying indie, or is there hopes to actually get into a publishing house somewhere?
Um, well, I wouldn't not talk to a publisher if somebody came,
I
and I
s-
have, you know what I mean?
offer me money and whatever.
I know, like if they had a deal or whatnot. But there are so many traditionally published authors now that are turning indie. I mean, you have to give up so many of your rights, and so much control over what you write and what you put out there when you turn traditionally published. So for me, I love the fact that I have a hand in everything I do. My books look like I want them to look. They say what I want them to say. They have the messages that I want them to have, and they're mine. You know, I can look at it and I can say, yes, I'm proud of that because it's exactly what I wanted it to be. Now, it's not, it might not be what everybody in the world wants it to be or what everybody would like, but if one person reads it and they enjoy it, then that's all I cared about.
Yeah, I mean
So,
I think that's a goal for anybody who's indie, is just to kind of get it out there and hopefully get as many people who like it or at least read it as you possibly can. I think that it's probably a lot easier for people who get into publishing houses to resort to becoming indie, just because
yeah.
they've had that super surge of marketing and that super surge of my book's out there everywhere, and now they can just kind of lay back and go, yeah, come on, come on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you're a big name and everybody knows you, they're not going to care if your book was published by a publishing house or if your book was just published by yourself. You know, you have a name. So it is, I think it's definitely harder for indie authors to market themselves and to get their books out there. I mean, it's a full-time job trying to get yourself out there, and I don't have the time for that. I think that the marketing aspect is it's the worst part to me. I hate having to market because I don't personally, I'm like, I enjoy the writing aspect. I don't enjoy the Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. It takes up the time that I could be writing and then putting out more stories. So
I'll definitely agree with that. I mean, the marketing part of it is probably the toughest part for any indie author, and if you
it's
don't have
hard.
if you don't have a firm toehold on where you're at, you can just see it when you go out on Amazon or Goodreads or wherever. Their reviews are super low, and then they just kind of fade away, and it's really sad because I've seen some of them out there that are at the below 10 review mark, and I've read the
Yeah.
book and I go, well, that was a good book. I don't know why the hell nobody's reading this. It's because of marketing.
Well, and you know, part of the problem is it's not that they're not reading it, it's that they're not posting reviews.
That is also another really fun thing to try and get.
You
I
know, and it's hard. It is extremely hard to get people to actually post a review. And you know, I've talked to people, oh, I loved your book. I loved your well, great. Would you mind? It takes 2 minutes to go post a review, and then you get a one-line review. You're like,
yeah, well, I guess it's something.
okay, all right. Well, there you go. So I definitely think it's hard. I know that it is a necessary evil to go out and to market, and I enjoy the blog. I enjoy blogging. That's fun for me because I it's writing. I get to sit there and write an article and it's fun. Um, but I have a hard time tweeting and you know I don't have the time for it. I've recently talked to somebody that does marketing for authors basically as a full-time job, and she loves it, which is great, but she spends all of her time doing it.
Yeah, it is really you can see how getting into a publishing house for that purpose is that's the main reason why I think any indie really wants to get there. It's not really so much about the money. I mean, God, I want a little bit of money, but
A little bit, come on, a little bit. Yeah.
just a piece. But it's also just about they have that full-time staff that can go out there and like, you're assigned to Twitter, you're assigned to Instagram, and you're assigned to Facebook. Go
Yes.
happen.
Yeah. Oh, and that would be awesome. To have a team behind you, it would be awesome. But, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And I'm still happy doing what I am doing. It's like I said, I never started writing my stories to get rich and famous. That's not something that I ever expected from it. So it's not a disappointment that that hasn't happened. Shockingly, it hasn't. Um, and I'm okay with that. I just enjoy doing the stories, and I enjoy the fact that I'm showing my kids that if you try something and you work hard at it, you can do it. They love the fact that mommy is a published author, and they look at my books and they're so excited that the dedication inside them, they're in there, and it's fun for them. It's fun for me because they can realize that, it's not impossible to do some of those things that I look at as a crazy dream of mine. I always tell my husband, I'm so thankful that you're supportive of my crazy dreams, because a lot of people I think would look at you and go, oh, yeah, we're going to spend more money on that. Okay, yay. But he
Uh,
is. He's 100% supportive. He's got my back, and it's great. He's my team. Only he doesn't do marketing. So
you really try and incorporate that, like, as my birthday present this year, maybe you'd like to do, I don't know, a couple days worth of marketing for me.
there you go. There you go. That's a good idea. I'm gonna have to catch him up on that. It's coming around, so
If you ever get like a really bad gift, just kind of fall back like, God, I wish that you would have done marketing instead.
yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna do that. I've got a birthday coming up, and I think I'm gonna have him, wrap me up some couple of days worth of marketing for me. That'd be great. That'd be
I'm
great.
really sorry, Nina's husband.
Oh, yeah. I'm not.
No,
I
not
think it's great. He should totally do that for me.
now. With other than marketing, is there another aspect to writing? I mean, the writing part, I'll agree with you. The writing part's great. I mean, you can just sit
Yeah.
there and imagine all these different things, and I mean, even the editing part for me, it's not so bad just because it helps me, I don't know, weed away all the stuff that isn't necessary. Now, do you have any other parts other than marketing that you kind of dread? Do you dread editing?
I used to. I think I had to get over that rather quickly when I finished my first book. And my editing process is very extensive at this point. I have a number of beta readers that read it. They go through for content and holes in the story and questions that they have, and they do basic grammar editing, and so they do a lot for me. But then after that, it goes to my professional editor, and she does 3 to 4 rounds of editing on it. Each in between, I'm fixing things, then she edits again, and then it goes back to beta readers. So, I mean, I have a pretty extensive process, and I'm okay with it now, and I'm used to it. But I remember the first time I sent off my manuscript, that first book, Awaken, and got it back. And on top of my manuscript, because it was a print copy, was a 5-page single spaced letter from the girl that edited it of all of the major issues detailed out. And I think I read half of it and was in tears, and just I put it down. I think it was like 2 weeks before I picked up that note again. And then after I got through the note, I said, you know what? She's just trying to be constructive. I asked for this. The more thorough it is, the better a story it's going to be. So I got through the letter, and then I opened up, I had the manuscript, and the front page, not a single mark. Now, it was the title page. So if I had gotten something wrong on that, I would have been a little worried.
Like getting your
But
name
then,
on a test when you're in high school.
that's right. Or forgetting to put your name on a test in high school.
I've done that. I know. Yeah, it happens.
That's great. Anyway, but no, and then I opened the manuscript, and there wasn't a single page that didn't have red. Just, I mean, it looked like her pen had died all over my manuscript. Not the good kind of blood that I wanted in the manuscript. But I got through it, and then after my edits and after my rewrites, it was a completely different book and a much better book. So I hated the process while I did it, and from that point on, I've loved the editing process because I saw what my book started as. And every now and then I'll actually go back into my files and read bits and pieces of that first book because it really is a completely different book. Um, and it's kind of fun to see how far it's changed and how far it's grown. Um, so yeah, now I don't mind the editing process. It can't get over fast enough because I get excited about that next stage and doing, the blog interviews and getting ready to release the book. So
Absolutely, and the editing part, definitely agree with. The first time I had one of my manuscripts come back, I just
mm.
went, "Oh my God, I don't know how to read or write or anything."
Yes, yes, you feel completely helpless. Like, what am I doing? Is this a mistake? But
But after every single one, every single like note that they gave me, I saw where they were coming from, and it
yeah,
helped. And it actually helped with the second book, so those mistakes didn't show up again.
yep, that's exactly right.
I
With
was
each
thankful
book.
for that painful, like punch to the face of like, "What are you doing? Don't write anymore."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I did have a question come through that I'm reading off to the side of the camera, which is why I'm looking over here. But it's from Melissa. She was asking about your marketing in terms of success for marketing. Which avenues worked best for you from your point of view?
Wow. I have a hard time figuring out where people are coming from. And I just recently started marketing. It's a great question, and I wish I had a better answer, but I guess my answer would be is Goodreads. I think that I get the most feedback there. Um, and I also think that word of mouth. I started out just like every other indie author does and gave the book to, friends and family and said, "You have to read this. Could you read this for me?" And so that developed into, my mom and my sister read it, and then my aunt read it, and then my cousins read it, and then a friend of my mom, and then a friend of my sister, and then the daughter of the friend, and it just grew from there. So I think word of mouth is one of the best marketing you can have, which is why I think that in-person events for authors are so important. And I published my first book in 2012, and I didn't do my first in-person event until this year. So I was way behind where I think an indie author should be. So if I could go back and do it again, I would have started those events way back then. But word of mouth, I think, is the best marketing I've had, and then Goodreads, I think, is really really great too because there are so many people on that site, and you can get your information out there. But you have to become active on it to make sure that people are seeing it and blogging, and that goes on to Goodreads because people see them there. So I definitely think that a combination of those things are the most important. I haven't found much success with Twitter. I mean, I've got over 1,000 followers, I think, on Twitter, and I think that it is a site where it's very difficult to actually interact. So it's hard to keep up with things like that. And Facebook, I like. I love it for connecting with people that are friends and family that are out of town. I like it for connecting with other authors. But I think Goodreads is a great place to connect with readers. So
I would definitely agree with that. Same type of thing. Goodreads, there's so many different groups out there that you can, well, if you're an author, you can get your book into. They have R2R groups and
yes,
young adult group. I mean, every single genre that's out there, they'll have some sort of subcategory in there where you can just put your book out and somebody will pick it up and read it and give you a review.
yeah.
That part's simple, and I mean, unfortunately, yeah, you're not getting a sale off of it, but I think the reciprocal nature of getting a review is sometimes a little bit, I don't know what you want to call it, wealthier.
I think it's more beneficial sometimes because the more reviews you get, the more people think that your book is worth buying, and then the more likely they are to buy it. I mean, you can have only 5-star reviews on Amazon, but if they're in the low numbers, it's really hard to get people to buy it, you know?
It really is, and I'm guilty of that too. If I ever go out there and I look for a book and it's got somewhere under 100, I kind of go, huh. I wonder how long has it been out. First of all, like if it's been out
Yeah.
for 5 years and you have 10 reviews, I kind of wonder if that book's worth picking up.
Yeah.
But
Well,
more,
I will always read the reviews. But I'm really bad about picking books. I definitely am drawn to books based on their covers. Um, but I won't not choose a book if I don't like the cover. If I don't really care for the cover, I'll read the back of the book. And then if I'm kind of intrigued by the back of the book, I'll look at the reviews. And then I'll typically pick it up if it's in the genre I like. But, my husband jokes with me because I'm really bad at picking out wine. I pick it out because the bottle is pretty or the label is pretty. And then inevitably it doesn't taste very good. So he picks out all the wine, but I tend to do that with my books too. I pick out the pretty book or the one that, has a picture that I like. And so, yeah, I don't judge based on, number of reviews. I tend to like to support the indie authors and the new authors. So I've read a lot of okay books,
Okay.
you know, and then I've read a lot of really, really great books by indie authors too. So I mean, I definitely, and I've read bad books by published authors that, have big names that I'm just like, what were they thinking with that book? So I don't think that it has anything to do with whether they're indie published or they're traditionally published. I think there are great books in all genres from all types of authors. And there are bad books, but I don't post bad reviews.
Yeah, the way I've always attributed books and reviews, and way I've always seen different people respond to different books, whether they're indie, whether they're published, whether they're the hot item right now. Everybody has
Hmm.
a different star in it, and the way I always think of it is if you walk into a coffee shop, not everybody's going to get that same exact cup of coffee and love it as much.
Yeah,
But damn,
absolutely.
if it's on sale though, you're going to see a lot of people pick it up, but also a lot of people probably go, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
yeah, I know. But other than me being right, let's get on to something else.
Okay.
Now, I don't even really remember when I came across your site. I think it was just one of those. I was following a blogger who commented on your book, and I was drawn to the cover of Awaken, and
Hmm.
I followed it down and through, and finally got, I think, to you. And I really don't even remember. I just remember I was able to get an advanced reader copy at one point.
Yeah, I know that I did on my blog. I gave away some copies, and I also did on Goodreads. I gave away some copies, so you may have gotten it from one of those.
That's
Um, but I did a number of them. And then I've only done one on Goodreads because what ended up happening is out of the 15 people that I gave copies to, I got 5 reviews. And then I got some, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna post the review. Yes, I read it, I liked it, and then they didn't. So, there was a big, huge thing, and now they've taken the R to R off of that site, for that group. And I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is, and you kind of expect it. You throw 10 books out there, you hope for 2 reviews, and so it is what it is. I kind of look at it as at least they got it, and maybe they'll tell somebody else about it, and then the word of mouth will kick in.
And I think it does. I think for us, if you're anything like me, I get really impatient. I'm like, when's it going to start springboarding somewhere? And it happens
Yeah.
at really odd times. I find out, like, if it's around holidays, I see like zero sales. I think it's just a dip in people wanting to get other things. But
Mm.
um, I took part in a lot of the good reads. Like, this is free, come get it. Until I got to the point
Yeah.
where I was like you, going, okay, 5 people picked it up, 2 have reviewed it. I don't know what that means, but I'm getting tired of trying to like hound people for reviews. And I mean, it still happens right now, and I think people, especially friends, family, or acquaintances that you kind of run into that pick up your book,
Hmm.
possibly review, is they get the physical copy, and then they don't realize that when they're done with the book, that they should go out and give it a review, because they didn't really
Yeah.
purchase it through Amazon, or they didn't purchase it through a Goodreads avenue. It's just more like, well, I got it, I liked it, yeah, like
Yeah.
great,
Well,
you review
uh,
it.
I think that's with a lot of people. I mean, before I started writing, I don't think I've ever written a review. Yeah, I just didn't think, oh, I loved books and I've got a ton of them and I was, read for years, but I never thought, oh, hey, go online and write a review for this. It just wasn't something I thought about until I became a writer and started writing and publishing. And then I thought, oh, reviews are so important. So I don't think that the everyday average person, average just reader, if they're not a writer, I don't think they necessarily think about that.
I don't either, and I'm trying to think of a handy dandy way to make people who buy a book to go there, and a lot of things you can do through Amazon for the digital copies is once it's done, it just automatically pops up and reminds.
Yes,
The
I love that.
Yeah, the physical book though, I want to get one of those little like 5-year-old pop-up books, so when you get to the end, it like just says review.
Yeah.
I'm not
You
sure
know,
if that'll work, but
I've thought about sticking, and I don't know why I haven't done it yet, but I've actually thought about in the back of the paperback books, putting a page in there saying, "Hey, if you liked this book, please put a review on Amazon. This is where you go." But I just haven't done it. But I do like the fact that the ebooks do that. So when you've read it, it just pops up and says, "Hey, what did you think? Click on a star."
I always appreciate Amazon for that alone. Just like thanks Amazon for looking out for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because chances of them not pushing something, I mean,
I mean, when a button's in front, you always have to like, oh, I'll rate it right when I'm right now.
yeah, you got the choice, the blue pill, the red pill. You're going to pick something.
Yeah,
So, got a choice. 1 star, 4 stars, 5 stars, 3, 2, pick something. Yeah.
it'll work. Um, to try and wrap up our segment, there's a couple of different things I want to touch on.
All right.
First off, one thing I always like to ask writers is, what made you actually fall in love with writing to begin with?
Reading. I mean, I hated reading when I was really little. And my mother would drag me and my sister to the library every weekend. We would ride our bikes all the way to the library. And looking back, I mean, it felt like it was like 10 miles there and back. And it probably wasn't. It was probably right up the road. But we would go, we'd pick out our books, and then we'd go home, and then we'd read them. And then the next weekend, we'd go back. And it was just every week. And I hated it at first. And then I started finding books that I really liked. And Stephen King was my all time. I read everything that I could get my hands on. Um, so I think that reading his stories and realizing that, it's all just an escape and you can read something and be completely drawn into this other world. And I don't like reading like historic or anything like that. I enjoy fiction. I love reading things that, are pretend. And that's why I think I like the supernatural. But reading, and I'm also an actress. So my love of theater and acting and that whole pretend world, I think that also sucks me into wanting to write and create. So I started with short stories and then screenplays. And then when I left California, I started writing novels instead.
That's great. I mean, you're doing good with it, so keep up the good work. Huh? Now, I know we did a kind of an interview. You were my first one that I tried to start something like this with, and I don't know, it was technical difficulties again, but we couldn't get it to work out, and we did the Q&A type thing at the very end.
Yes.
This time I'm not going to do Q&A. This time I'm just going to I'm going to give you about 30 seconds on this little stopwatch I'm going to try and start.
Do a stopwatch? Wow.
What? It's just like
Yeah, an app. There's an app for everything. There's an app for that.
there's an app for everything. Come on.
What do I have to do in 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds, I want you to name as many vampire movies as you possibly can.
No, I'm going to be horrible at this. This is not something that I'm going to be good at.
That's half the fun.
Okay.
I set you up for failure just so that we can all just point, laugh, and go, you write about vampires? Sure.
But see, I don't write about vampire movies.
I know, but you're a lover of the theater. Obviously, you're an actress, so.
Okay, so vampire movies.
Just start channeling it right now, like all the movies you've seen fangs in. Just get ready. You ready? Ready?
No, I'm not ready. Okay, yeah.
You got 2 seconds, and I'm going to start this whole thing. And go.
Vampire movies. Bram Stoker's Dracula, Salem's Lot, or Return to Salem's Lot. The one with Tom Cruise, Interview with a Vampire, A Village of Vampires. Blackula. That's kind of a vampire one. Blade, Blade 2, Blade the third one. What was that? Trinity.
You got
I don't
8.
know anymore.
You got 8, and I'm not even.
I don't
questioning that one in there.
Oh, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Twilight series and
We're still going. It's 30 seconds is over.
No, I want to keep going. Okay.
I want to know what
That's not very
the
good.
Vampires is.
Huh?
That's the only one I was kind of going. A Village of Vampires. I don't know that movie.
Did I make that one up?
I think you made that one up. I think you're thinking of something and then you don't know the title of it. A Village of Vampires.
No, it's something like that. It's an old movie. I don't remember. You'll have to look it up. But I think it's a black and white. I think it's an old black and white.
There's going to be a movie out there somewhere.
Or maybe it's The Village Vampire. A Village of Vampires or The Village. I don't know.
They're putting all these contexts along with it. Like, I think it's out there. It's an old movie. Maybe.
It's so old, you might not be able to find it.
It might not be on the internet. I'm not sure, but I know.
I don't think they had internet back then, so.
So they definitely don't have it on.
Right. I'm gonna find it though.
I gave you 8. You got 8. And that's counting the Village of Vampires one.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe we want to brush up if we come back and do another like follow-up interview for.
I failed. But see, my vampires are different. I mean, you read my stories. They're not like vampires in the movies, are they?
They are not. They are completely in a different context of their own, which makes them unique. And that's what I love.
There you go. I mean, they still drink blood and have fangs, but they're not dead. So, it makes them slightly different than the other vampires out there.
See, now, if your books ever become a movie someday, you're going to look really stupid. You're like, I don't know vampire movies. But then you can be like, I got Awaken, and I got this, and I got this, and I got.
I didn't say I don't know them. I just am not very good with trivia on the spot.
That's exactly why we did it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You suck.
Yeah. But everyone's laughing at this part. So, other than that, I don't have too many other questions for you, really. It's more of there was one other follow-up that was asking, do you ever plan to write in a different genre other than supernatural paranormal type?
Yes. Well, I did write that story that was in the other book. It's called Final Ships is what the name of the book is, but my story was called End Games. And so that was out of the paranormal genre. It was, it was definitely out of what I would normally do. It was just straight short story. So I guess that, but I do have a book that I've been planning that I have not quite gotten to yet. And I think it's because it is out of my comfort zone. It's out of my normal genre. So it's kind of in the very, very beginning stages. I've outlined a little bit and I've jotted notes down. I have a notebook that's dedicated just to that book. And until I get that notebook a little bit more full, I don't feel comfortable actually starting it.
Do you have or can we get a hint as to like what this other genre might be? I mean, you don't have to say anything about the story itself, but like, are we talking? What are we talking about?
I guess if I had to.
If you had to one word this, what would it be?
I had to one word it.
Like vampire, werewolf, romance?
No. I'm trying to think of the right word in this.
I'm good with synonyms. Just
Abuse.
something at me. A what?
Abuse.
Abuse. Well, that's not that's not funny.
No, it's not. But it is fiction, and it is, I mean, it does have other aspects into it, but I mean, the primary character is really going through something very difficult. And so, without giving away too much, maybe abuse is a little hard. Abduction? We'll go with that. Abduction, not alien.
Not alien, but abduction. I can see that sprouting somewhere. So yeah, we'll stick to
Is
that.
that better than abuse? Abuse is probably not the right word.
Well, neither
It's
are.
in there, but abduction is probably the right word.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I have one more question from somebody who just popped in, who is immediately now a fan of yours.
Who is this one person?
Forgive me if I'm saying this wrong. Nuno? Yes. Well, that's what his first name says. Nuno.
Hello, Nuno.
But he wants to know, which book should he start reading and why of yours? You have a single opportunity right here.
Right there.
Sell it.
Sector C, The Chosen. I think that with it being my fourth book, I've grown a lot as an author, and it just jumps right in, I think, to action and suspense, and a lot happens in it. So I think that is a really good representation as to how I write now. I love my first series, the Blood Angel series. I hold it dear to my heart. It's like a child because I spent so much time on it. But unless you like a lot of backstory, which I love in a book, I have been told that Awaken has a lot of backstory, and some people love it and some people don't. So if you want to start with the Blood Angel series and you don't like backstory, start with book 2, which is Revenge. But if you love backstory, then Awaken is great. But my personal favorite, I think, in terms of how I wrote and the style of the writing, and right now the storyline, is Sector C, The Chosen.
There you go, Nuno. Sector C. Go pick it up right now. I'm gonna try and put links to your book into the YouTube section once it's in the little comment thing.
Awesome.
Done and starts processing. It takes, I don't know why it takes like forever, but it takes about a half hour to an hour, and then all the little links should be right there, and you can pop in and click on all kinds of stuff.
Yay!
Yay! Other than that, I hope that once we get your next book of Sectors, it's still Sector C, or is that just the name of the first book?
No, it is. It's Sector C, The Hunted. It's actually, I just finished the first draft last week. So it is with the beta readers right now. So hopefully, I'm hoping that the beta reader process will take about 3 weeks to 4 weeks, and then it'll be with the editor for about 3 weeks to 4 weeks, and I'll hopefully be released here in about 3 to 4 months.
Sweet. Let's plan on a future date, and we're gonna brush up on your trivia skills.
No, I don't like trivia. You know, Trivial
I can
Pursuit.
do other on-the-spot games too. It's not a big deal.
Yes, let's do other on-the-spot games instead. You know that game Trivial Pursuit with the little pie pieces?
Yes, I know Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, that was like my nemesis as a kid. I hated that game. Whenever, people were like, "Oh, let's play Trivial Pursuit," I was like,
Oh my god.
no, don't make me. No. I hate it. Monopoly. I was great at Monopoly. Tic-tac-toe, I can beat you, but Trivial Pursuit sucks.
I'm going to say, for the sake of the show, it might be a little long for us to play a game of Trivial Pursuit.
Okay.
Just going to throw it out there. But.
Well, no, that's how I associate your on-the-spot trivia question about movies.
I will try to make it a little bit easier on you.
Secret Circle. See, there's another one.
You're just kind of like randomly just. Look at
wait, no, those were witches. That wasn't vampires. You said no, that doesn't count. Never mind.
I'm taking one off of your score now. You have.
I can't lose points. That doesn't count. I can't lose points.
Get your own YouTube show, and you can lose points for me. How's that?
Yes, I will do that.
Nuno had one follow-up, though. He wants to know how he can get a signed copy, or where he can get a signed copy from. I don't know if you do things like that. Some people do, some people don't.
Absolutely, I do. My website, which is www.ninasoden.wordpress.com. I have an order on there. So if you click into the book section and click order now, it'll take you to a place where you can actually order the books. And then if you want it signed, you can enter that information and I will sign it for you.
There you go. I'm working in your favor here, buddy.
There you go. Or if that doesn't work, you can also contact me via email, which my email is on my website, and then we can process a credit card and do it their way. It's a signed copy of all of the books if you want.
See, there's 4 of them at least. 5
That's
if you count the short story and that final ships one.
Yes.
Making sales.
Making sales. I don't care about the sales. I want the connections. Just read it. Enjoy the books. And tell your friends and write a review.
And always be closing.
And always be closing. God, I love that movie.
I had to channel that Ben Affleck, I think is that. Yeah. Anyhow, I want to thank you again for stopping by, taking some time out of your day. I know I don't get too many.
Ben Affleck?
I know I was off on that one. That was Alcohol.
What are you thinking? Glenn Ross? What movie are you thinking?
I totally overlooked something in there. I somehow was channeling Boiler Room when I thought.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
But thank you for taking the time out, stopping in here, answering some questions, and showing my readers and your readers and anybody watching this just why they should pick up your book and start following you. Other than that, did you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do actually, and I'm surprised I didn't bring this up earlier. But when is your next book coming out? Because I have read your first 2 books, and I have to find out what is going to happen to Carter Gable.
I mean, I have a thing out there right now where I'm accepting some beta readers to help with the final chapter of the book, where they can actually choose which one I'm going to publish. As to a firm date on when I'm publishing, I don't quite have yet. It'll probably be at the beginning of 2016 as far as that goes. But if you are interested in being a beta reader and you're watching this right now, just give me a holler. I can put you in the mix and go from there.
Okay, so is it all the way written and you just have 2 final chapters? Like 2 versions, but the book, the manuscript is all written.
No, I mean, for me, writing is something that I can do. You give me 3 weeks and I will get a book out. So now that I had softball that was basically consuming a lot of this whole year, and now that that is over, all my dedication is going to be going towards that book, and it'll be cranked out really soon. So for beta readers, you're going to get it at the end of the summer, and then everybody else, I will let you know as we go.
Okay. Well, I have to say I loved the first 2 books, so I am very eager to read that 3rd book.
Well, it's really fun to write, and that character in there, it's nothing but fun to write him, just because whatever comes to mind usually comes out on the page, and I don't have to filter anything really. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm excited. So please keep us posted.
I will keep you abreast of all the new things coming into play, and yeah. But other than that, thank you once again. I'm going to close out here, and anybody who's watching this, look down below, give it a like, give me a subscribe, and there'll be links to all of Nina's books and Nina's website, so you can go check her out, start following her, and seeing that whole reaching through one person to the next person. So again, thank you, Nina. Hope you have yourself a great night.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
All right.
All right. Have a good one.